I have this space. I've just built these racks, table saw, just storage units, and minus the door, I've realised that the obvious thing missing in this workshop, if you can call it that, is a workbench. So I'm going to build one. I'm not going to build a complicated one. I'm going to build a very, 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 very simple one. And the reason is because I know the work I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be, you know, destroying it. So I've got loads of pieces of wood. I've decided to use these. Oops, I didn't point out. These blocks of wood, 4 inch by 4 inch. And once I cut them down, I'll tell you what size they are actually. So I think that's wrong. I'm cutting them to 1 meter height. Yeah, they are 4 by 4. So I'm cutting them to 1 meter height. I'm going to cut 4 of them. Just make a very, very simple workbench. This is what I'm using. Meter ruler, obvious reasons. A reciprocating saw, you don't have to use that. And just a hand small saw just for any chips.
So I got these 4x4s, and I just leveling them out here. So I've got 4 of them just to make sure they're kind of level. I do want them to be as level as possible, then the table won't rock. But I am going to start sanding the top of it because they're not perfect, and just to give it that smoother edge. And when they're finished, I just put them down and just give them a good clean with a brush. Then be using these joist cutouts that I've got left over. I'm just gonna drill some holes in the sides and just get them ready to put into the 4x4s. The 4x4s, by the way, are 60 centimeters high. I wanted the table to be pretty high so I don't have to, you know, bend down a lot when I'm doing my work. And once I've pinned 1 in to each side, so I've got a set of, all I do is the same with the bottom. I just put a little piece of very, very thin timber down there for a bit of support. So you'd be amazed how much support that can give. And this is what the table currently looks like upside down. And what I've done is I've also just reinforced it with some planks going across, and these are just, you know, very smallish planks measured to the size of the top of the table. I do want to put some wheels on this, so I've just bought some very small wheels because I do want to move it around. Make sure you get the ones with brakes on them, and I just really screwed them in, nothing major there. And the next stage is to put this oak top on. Oak top, I've actually just drilled it in from the top downward with some very large screws, as simple as that. And I do want to fill these in with wood filler and then sand it over. And this is what it looks like in the workshop. So you can see the areas where I started to do the sanding.
Let's have a look. But now I'm at a stage where I've attached the top. I've used the nails to go in here, about 2-3 nails here and some glue underneath. And then I filled this with wood. But before I did that, I put a router on it. And the router enabled me to get an edge so the nail sits into the wood rather than protrudes, which gives me the option of just sealing it with wood filler. So I've done that. So in all 4 corners. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to coat this. It's going to be a 6-stage process. It's not as daunting as it looks because each process is not that long. I've chosen to leave the bottom, not because I'm being lazy, because I don't mind this nice wooden, you know, look. I mean, this wood has been treated. It's about 12-15 years old, and it's nice. I like the look of it. But the top, I want it to be that nice contrast. I want this to be completely clear, almost have a bit of a shine to it. I'm not going to go over the top, which might sound contradictory, given that I said 6 layers. because I'm going to be working on this. So I'm constantly working on this, and it might get roughed up. So the wood is oak, and that's it. I'm going to leave these edges as well. By the way, I just decided that I'm not going to do anything with them. All I want is a decent-ish finish on the top. The two things I'm going to use, other than sandpaper and a sander, the first thing, and the second thing actually, is just sanding sealer, shellac sanding sealer. Before I do that, I'm just going to use a lint-free cloth, and I'm going to just put a little bit of white spirit in it, just to open them pores up. I have sanded it with I think it was 180 grit. See that 180 grit? So I use this DeWalt sander. You can use any sander, I suppose, but I find DeWalt are like nothing else at the moment. Right, okay, so let's get some of that coating on here, some of that white spirit. Oh, before you do that, make sure you either brush or better still vacuum this, get us all that sand off. Yeah? It's very important. Okay, let's come right back to you. Just applied the first coat. I'm just going to give that time to just sink in or dry, if you like. So this is sanding sealer shellac. So just to reiterate, what we've done is we've sanded this with 80, then with 180, vacuuming in between, cleaning, brushing, and then we've that's all also because we've filled these in, so we've leveled that out with the sander. Then we put some terps, white spirits on it. Let the white spirit evaporate. It kind of opens the pore and makes it more porous even. And then we've just added a coat of this, and that will enable us to put the first coat of Osmo on. But before we do that, we're going to sand it again. Right, so we've just sanded this first coat of shellac, and now I'm going to just give that a brush. I could put another coat of shellac on, but I'm going to choose not to because it is a working bench, it's not a decorative piece, so I'm going to go straight on with the Osmo after I've sanded it down. So for this we're going to use a largish brush, decent quality, and we are using Osmo 3044. It's a matte, but it doesn't really matte it as you would think paint, of course, because it's not paint. Right, now you should really pour this out into a little container, and the reason is so you obviously you don't then contaminate the actual Osmo in there. Give it a good shake to make sure it's not been sitting there a while, and no, in a way you can close it again, preferably with a fatter screwdriver than this. Right, that's the colour it comes in. Now when you do this, you do want to preferably go up in the same stroke as the grain, and you want to stroke it in like that, so not to leave brush marks. Doesn't matter so much on this coat because this coat is only the first coat, and we're going to sand it again afterwards. So I want to try and get as much on as I can on the brush, and the reason for that is because I'm going to go in that specific action I just mentioned. I'll show you. So there we go. So I've got enough on the brush to try and do as much as I can in one sweep. Now I like to just go over that the same way, in the opposite direction. Bring a bit of pressure on it. And again. the process. First we're just going to let this dry 24 hours. I'm just using a hand buffer even. Get a bit of a clean. There we go. For the last coat, I'm going to use something slightly different. I'm going to use 1101. No, I'm not. I'm going to use the same one. Sorry, I just decided then. Yeah, I'm going to use the same one. So 3044. Again, last coat. Hopefully last coat. And this time the difference being we're going to buff it in rather than just leave it to dry. So it doesn't really matter how you apply this now. It doesn't really matter. For reason is because we're going to spread it with the buffer. I'm going to see how that works. Do try and follow the grain if you can. Roughly spread it around. That's it. Now just gonna buffer it, or buffer even. just sanded another coat. So it's very smooth now, even without the next coat, which is going to be the penultimate coat. I'm going to put one more coat on and brush it in, and then after that I'm going to sand it again, and then I'm going to buff a coat in, or maybe even two. Let's see how we get on. So we've put it on, and now we're going to wax it in. Sorry, not wax it in. We're going to buff it in. Buffer glove, just to make sure we covered it all. There we go. Now we're going to leave that for 24 hours. And when I say leave it, I mean leave it, not touch it once.
And once it's complete, this is what it looks like. So it's had it's had a lot of sanding in between. So we've gone with the 80, a 120 and a 240. Vacuumed in between each sand and brushed. The first thing we applied to this was the sand sealer shellac. Let that dry, and then we actually put white spirit in before that, then we let that dry, then we put the shellac on, let that dry overnight, then we put one coat of Osmo on, let that dry, sanded it, another coat of Osmo, let that dry, sanded it, and then the final coat of clear finish Osmo, and we put that in, and then we buffed it. The buffer, by the way, I was spreading it first, then buffering it, hence it looking a bit shady and not spinning as fast as it could. But anyway, this is the finished piece, and now I have a workbench to work from or work on. I hope you enjoyed the video.